Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our disability awareness segment brought to you by ogpay.com, today we're featuring Dave Stevens, the only legless player in sports history to have played NCAA football and minor league baseball. In fact, Dave is a 7-time Emmy-winning sports journalist and motivational speaker. As a television host, he nears 40 years in broadcasting, 20 with ESPN. Dave is a father to 3 teen boys, a professional in residence at Quinnipiac University, and oversees the New Ability Media Initiative at the college, teaching media and production to disabled students in efforts to create job opportunities and careers for them. Dave also puts on sports camps for disabled children across the country. Today, he's here chatting disability awareness, overcoming obstacles, and how your mindset is your most powerful tool. Welcoming now to the show is the amazing Dave Stevens. Welcome, superstar.
Wow, after that intro, I thought God himself was coming on your show, so but thank you. I
A-
appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, you have accomplished a lot, my dear friend. Now, I'm going to walk the audience through your story as quickly as I can, and then I want you to pick up where I leave off. So, you were born without legs, and from the beginning, really, the odds were stacked against you. Your 15-year-old biological mother had already made the difficult decision to put you up for adoption until Bill and B. Stevens intervened and took you in at the tender age of just 2 years old. The Shriners then provided you with artificial legs, to my understanding, and an opportunity to use your natural charisma. And then you went on traveling over the West, where you were the ideal poster child, entertaining crowds and opening wallets in support of the Crippled Children's Hospital. Tell me what happens after 2 years old and why your mindset mattered so much. Talk about destined for stardom.
Well,
Take it
I
away.
mean, when they pick you at such an early age to be like this, one of Jerry's kids type thing, you don't realize it when you're in the moment, but you're like, hey, I get to go to the San Diego Zoo and I get to do this and be in parades and stuff like that, and just go out as a little tiny kid on artificial legs and crutches and sing a couple of songs, tell a couple of bad jokes, and they would open up their pockets. But more importantly, it gave me opportunities being poor, being adopted to kind of realized that there was more out there for me, and I had to make the most of my own opportunities. Back in those days in the 60s, people with disabilities could still be institutionalized. You could be put in a hospital and you'd have no career. But I had two loving parents that really supported me through my entire life and didn't know any other thing than to raise me to be who I am and the best I could be. And they instilled in me that there wasn't anything I couldn't do if I worked hard enough to achieve it. So I kind of started that progression, doing things for the Shriners, but then realizing that I wanted to play sports and I wanted to be like every other kid. And I turned that opportunity into everything that I have today because I played sports. And there was no Special Olympics and there was no diversity games or any of those kind of things. I had to play able bodied sports with no legs. And no one's ever done that. And I was able to achieve success in wrestling and football and baseball. I got to be on a TV show called That's Incredible, which allowed me to get a college football scholarship, a tryout with the Dallas Cowboys, playing minor league baseball. I got to pinch hit for all you New York fans. A guy named Daryl Strawberry, I was teammates with, a real big superstar. I got to start at second base in a minor league game with Daryl Strawberry. I pinch hit for Daryl Strawberry in a game. So I'm very blessed and lucky that I've been all these years, 40 years in television. I've never met a microphone that I don't like. I always carry one in front of me. So in case
Yeah.
but it led to having that confidence to do something that most people with disabilities wouldn't do. Not only play sports, which was my dream as a kid to play professional baseball, but my dream, and I said it on That's Incredible before there was cable, there was 4 TV networks, and I said before 30 million people, I wanted to work in network television and replace Howard Cosell, and I've achieved that
And you
and
did.
more.
Now, let's follow the story here. So, I just want to address the audience for people listening. Now, guys, paralysis is dramatically more widespread than previously thought. And now, in Dave's case, we're talking about legless, but in general, there's approximately 1.7% of the US population, or that breaks down to close to 5.5 million people reported they were living with some form of paralysis. So, it's a thing. Now, spinal cord injuries alone cost roughly $41 billion annually. That's a 117% increase from costs estimated in 1998, which were just at about 9 billion. So people living with paralysis are often unable to afford health insurance that adequately covers the complex complications that are commonly linked with conditions. And like many of these living with chronic illness, they're frequently forced to rely on friends or family members to serve as their primary caregivers. Dave, talk to me. How are your efforts paving the way for the disability community, and what is the most important task at hand for you?
I think is, for me, being able to do what I did without anybody's help because there weren't people helping, and I always wanted to give back and help those with disabilities to get a regular job, to have those opportunities in school, to have those opportunities just to drive a car. All the things that everybody, you leggies take for granted, I've had to overcome. There wasn't a book how to play sports for dummies without legs, so I had to evolve. And now what I'm trying to do by working at Quinnipiac University, where we started Ability Media, is trying to give back and give those opportunities to people that want to work in television and media. But I'm also putting on sports camps for disabled kids around the country to give them opportunities to experience that. And to your point, because of the medical costs and things like that, these families are poor. Many of them are not affluent and don't have any opportunities and are looking for, people that can give back or job opportunities or all of the wonderful things that you support as far as what you do, Zen, as far as what you've championed over the years. So, but I think right now, we've taken a back step during COVID. I mean, George Floyd really what was impactful in the world, but that George Floyd moment changed the word of inclusion and diversity. It now means it's part of a different demographic, and the world of the handicap got taken out of there, and so now we've had this back seat for a couple of years where we need opportunities, for jobs, for medical opportunities where we can't afford health care, or if you have a predisposed condition, you can't get insurance. So my life now, despite all the successes, is really geared towards trying to help those overcome it and just get
Beautiful,
opportunities.
so beautiful. And you're right, because on the employment front, we have about 16% of individuals living with paralysis are employed versus 65% who are not living with a disability. And then additionally, the statistics are even more staggering. You have about 42% of those living with paralysis indicated they were unable to work, period. So, as a public speaker and podcaster, Dave, you bring a powerful firsthand perspective to audiences on how to naturally integrate people with disabilities into academic, workplace, and social settings. What steps do you recommend employers take to ensure inclusion in the workforce?
Well, I think employers are afraid. There was a horrible back in the '70s. They always had this phrase: "Hire the handicapped; they're fun to watch." And it's like, if you think about it, it is kind of like that because there's always apprehension. I was one of the first disabled people at ESPN, and it's like I didn't know if they were going to judge me on the merits of my of strengths or feel sorry for me or pity me. And I've got Emmys that were given to me, because of my work, not because I was handicapped. And
Right.
I think employers are just afraid. How do I deal with somebody with a disability, seen and unseen? How do I deal with somebody with ADHD? Am I willing to look at other opportunities for somebody on the spectrum who could still contribute? These companies and these corporations, I think, are afraid, but we have minds. We have the ability. Those with paralysis, those with that have overcome an accident. So we have so many people out there. The handicap world is the largest minority in the world with the smallest voice. And so employers really need to take those challenges and look outside the box because why couldn't somebody with a disability work in the military, creating, our technology for, bombs and things like that? You don't need legs. You don't need to carry a backpack. And for a police detective, can you work, dispatch? Could you be in a wheelchair? There's all these things that we don't think about and talk about, giving everybody that opportunity to use what we have in here. There's so many people with gifts that have a handicap, a seen and unseen disability, and they're just not getting that opportunity to showcase those gifts.
It's true. And you are so resilient, and resilience is such an important thing in this equation because the way we deal with challenges definitely determines our success. And in life, we experience failures. We make errors in calculation and judgment and get the rug pulled off from our feet as a consequence, most of us never get up to try again, Dave. But you've been getting up all the time. And being resilient means having the courage to bounce back and take risks despite adversity and initial setbacks. And really, it's the essential key to success. And that is exactly what you have done, my friend. And I'm always going to quote Malcolm X: there's no better than adversity. Every defeat, every heartbreak, every loss contains its own seed, its own lesson on how to improve your performance the next time. And I always say that to people. Now, we have about 2 minutes left in this segment, and I wanted to address your show. You have an incredible new show. Now, granted, you were at ESPN for what, over 20 years as the assignment desk manager, then as a coverage editor. You covered 14 Super Bowls, 3 World Series, 3 NCAA Final Fours, and various other historic sporting events. You were awarded, like you said, 7 national Emmys during your career. Now you've launched your own show. What can we expect from the Geary Stein and Stevens show on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV? Talk to
Well,
me.
I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I always wanted to be on air, and now I get to do things. I work for the Disability Channel as a reporter. I get to cover things. I'm having more fun than when I was at ESPN at age 57. But the Geary Stein and Stevens show is just they may think it's sports oriented, but I have a lot of connections to celebrities, and we just get them to come on and talk about things and some sports, but I get a lot of I just had Ralph Malph, Donnie Most from Happy Days on. We've got JB Smoove. We get movie stars, singers, those kind of things, and I always try to find obscure things. I do my homework. I try to pull out embarrassing moments of their life that we can share and have a laugh at. With like, oh, by the way, Zen, here is your eighth grade photo, and I'll pull up something like that. But I have a lot of fun with it, and we just have conversations. It's not really, you know, uh, X's and O's or any of those kind of things. You can get that from those other channels. I really try to do my homework so I can find out who their inspiration was, who their mentors were, what pulled them out in their lowest areas of life, or what championed them to overcome what they did. So I have so much fun, and yeah, thanks to Kathy and Your Home TV, and now I get to see your show, and it's been a great connection to see the amazing things that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I can't wait to see more of your episodes. I wanted to thank you on for coming. We are out of time, but I love the work that you're doing. I know that you're also involved in tons of charities. Runway of Dreams was one that stood out for me. Initiative for Adaptive Clothing. That was interesting. But you have so much stuff going on. So I'm going to send people to your website. I'm going to thank you for coming on. You are incredible and amazing. And just, I'm honored to have been able to interview you.
Oh, thank you, Zen. It's been a pleasure to be with you. Thanks.
Absolutely. Guys, you definitely have to check out Dave Stevens. Head directly to his website at davestevensspeaks.com. You're going to find a lot of cool stuff there. And remember, being resilient doesn't mean that your problems go away. However, it bestows you with the ability to see beyond the obstacles laying in your way, provides insight for you to see the bigger picture of any situation, and really helps you handle stress better. And as Francis of Assisi said, start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you're doing the impossible. That was our disability awareness segment brought to you by ogpay.com. That was the awesome Dave Stevens. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OGPay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OGPay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.